Hello and welcome to What Culture Horror with myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I really do hope your week is going as well as possible. If not, I hope things turn around for you ASAP. Right, let's dive into horror news and let's dive into Wednesday. Yes, with a second season of Wednesday due to land on Netflix at some point next year. A nailed on premiere date has not been released as of this recording. The series has gone and brought in one Lady Gaga, of course, recently seen in Joker Folie 2. Although the problems with that film are not down to Lady Gaga, that's just down to the film itself. Not great, was it? Not great. But of course, Gaga has been seen in American Horror Story, where she has been absolutely brilliant in that. Now, Entertainment Weekly, they broke the news on this latest development for Wednesday. No details are known just yet on what role Lady Gaga will be playing in Wednesday. But the star is currently filming the show over in Europe. I say over in Europe, I'm in Europe. Here in Europe, not here in Wrexham, North Wales, but in Europe somewhere. So, yes, Lady Gaga is a part of Wednesday, is filming that series right now. Plot-wise, again, pretty much nothing is known about Wednesday season 2 right now, although Jenna Ortega has previously said how this second season will lean more into horror, which sounds good to me. I mean, the first season was pretty darn great. Give me some more horror on that, though, and I will be a very, very happy man. There have been a bunch of other new names added to season 2, including Steve Buscemi, which that gets me excited, Joanna Lumley, Billy Piper, Thandie Newton, who's just always great in whatever you see her in, Haley Joel Osment, Heather Matarazzo, who it's been great to see brought back into the fold in recent years for the past two Scream movies. And Yunus Suetomo, as in the man who took over the Chewbacca role from the legendary Peter Mayhew. He's going to be involved in Wednesday, and just on a personal experience, just the nicest dude. I was fortunate enough to host a Comic-Con panel with Eunice a year or so ago, maybe more than that. Just a really lovely fella, and obviously very, very tall. Also, Christopher Lloyd, who played Uncle Fester in the 90s Addams Family movies. He will guest star. Now, again, there's no details known on his role, but again, Christopher Lloyd being involved in the fold, that again puts a smile on this face. Plus, we'll be seeing a little more from Fred Armisen's Fester, who popped up rather brilliantly in just one episode of Wednesday's first season. But Fester, as far as I'm aware, Uncle Fester is still set to get his own spin-off series as well. So that is also in the works. Now, speaking of 90s horror favorites, talked about Christopher Lloyd there and Uncle Fester in the Addams Family movies from then. How about Idle Hands? Yes, released in 1999, Idle Hands it's a big old favorite of many, many horror fans, starring Devon Sawa, Seth Green, Eldon Hansen, Vivica A. Fox, and of course, Jessica Alba. It's a movie about well, it's a stoner whose hand is possessed and goes on a killing spree because of course it does. Even after it's cut off, it goes on a killing spree even more. Now, like so many great movies of yesteryear, Idle Hands is getting the remake treatment. Yes, this comes from Variety, who report that Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brick are co-writing this remake, with a chance that they may actually end up directing the film as well. This comes on the heels of Finn Wolfhard making his directing debut with the slasher movie Hell of a Summer, which he co-wrote and co-directed actually with Brick. So Jason Reitman is going to be producing this new Idle Hands with Gil Keenan, Sony's Maya Ayer, and Team Todd's Jennifer Todd and Suzanne Todd. For this remake, those involved, I've got the quote here somewhere. Let's have a little look. They are committed to breathing new life into the teen movie and keeping it authentic to the demographic. So, are you interested in an Idle Hands remake? Which other 90s movies would you like to see remade? Or should remakes just be left alone for a little while? As ever, let us know in the comments what you think about this. I know, not 90s, but there's some disappointing news for those horror fans who have long yearned for a Dog Soldiers sequel. Now, Dog Soldiers released in 2002 from Neil Marshall, a werewolf movie where it basically dumped a group of soldiers in the Scottish Highlands, and it was and is great. Seriously, one of the best werewolf movies you'll find, especially back in 2002 when it was released, because it was just something, I don't know, just fresh and different for the werewolf movie subgenre back then. Since then, since 2002, fans have long held out hope for a Dog Soldiers sequel, which was actually initially confirmed back in 2004, but obviously, of course, that has yet to happen. I mean, 2004, we're 20 years removed from that now. We've still not got a damn Dog Soldiers sequel. Still, earlier this year, Neil Marshall teased that a sequel has finally been greenlit, but sadly, unfortunately, Neil Marshall has now revealed that, yeah, all plans for that sequel have sadly fallen through. Now, the director took to Instagram to share a fan-made poster for Dog Soldiers 2, providing a rather disappointing update that, yeah, this poster, that's as close as we're ever going to get to a sequel, as things stand. As Marshall put it himself, he went into quite lengthy detail about the situation here. But just to grab a few quotes, it is with a heavy heart that I must announce that this teaser poster is probably as close as we'll ever get to a Dog Soldiers sequel. Since so many fans keep asking, I figured I couldn't keep the disappointing news to myself any longer. Your unwavering loyalty deserves better. Now, Neil Marshall will go on to note how himself and producer Christopher Figg have spent the last 6 years working to negotiate the rights for a sequel. That negotiation took place with US producer and rights holder David E. Allen and his Dash company. A deal was due to be finalized earlier this year, but then Dash, as Marshall put it himself, vanished, and all communication ended, refusing to answer calls, refusing to answer emails. Now, Neil Marshall doesn't know why this communication stopped, but the basic point is, yep, he doesn't have the rights to make Dog Soldiers 2, and that any deal for the sequel is, as he put it, dead. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's quite a lengthy post from Neil Marshall about just basically breaking down this situation. He does make a really valid point here about how the first movie was lightning in a bottle, and that lightning doesn't and shouldn't strike twice. As in, you've got this really great thing. Why risk diminishing it with something that might not be up to that standard? But then, of course, Dog Soldiers 2 could end up being really good if it was made. But yeah, no Dog Soldiers 2 at the moment, which is a shame. But like I said, Neil Marshall, he might be right with that final point. After all, how many times have you seen over the years sequels live up to what's come before? Especially when you're talking about a movie that came out, 22 years ago. Yeah, that makes me feel old. How is it possible that it's 22 years since Dog Soldiers? Geez, man, absolutely nuts. Right, one final fun piece of news to wrap up today's news video. And hey, I am always here for Trauma. The work Lloyd Kaufman and co have done over the years, yeah, just brilliant. With next to no budget all the time. It's just, yeah, I'm always here for Trauma. So, of course, the poster boy of Trauma is Toxie, the Toxic Avenger, which probably should have thought on and just like grabbed. There's a fun little steel book of the first Toxic Avenger movie that's lying around in this room somewhere. I probably should have grabbed that just for the giggles. Anyway, if you're of a certain age, you'll remember that the old Toxic Crusaders cartoon. Yes, the Toxic Crusaders cartoon that got one solitary season back in 1991. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've still got a bunch of Toxic Crusaders action figures somewhere in my mum's attic. Yeah. Anyway, Toxic Crusaders, it made Toxie, the Toxic Avenger, into a more child-friendly hero. I mean, Toxie is somebody who's always fought the good fight for the good people of Tromaville. He's always been there for the kids. But let's say those movies, you get us, yeah, there's a lot of bloodshed. There's a lot of words that the kids will not be hearing, and there's just a lot of general content that's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't be showing this to a kid. But the Toxic Crusaders cartoon made Toxie into that child-friendly character, with him and his pals battling aliens intent on polluting Tromaville and beyond. Oh, Trauma, never change your craziness. Of course, the action was very different, like I said, to what we saw in the movies. But Toxic Crusaders, it was a whole lot of fun. It was, like I said, only one season, unfortunately. It was another of the cartoons at that time that had a message about protecting the environment. Hey, Captain Planet. Which, I mean, let's face it, we all need to protect the environment. Anyway, it's now been announced that Toxic Crusaders is finally coming to Blu-ray, with Trauma to release all 13 episodes on December the 10th. To increase the quality of those episodes, Trauma's used AI to upscale the animation to a standard matching the original intent from a 16mm. As well as the 13 episodes. This new release will also feature an introduction to, from my close personal friend, Lloyd Kaufman. Hey there, Uncle Lloydie. TV spots, documentary about the Toxic Crusaders video game from back then, lost archival footage, and some bonus cartoons. Yeah, in a I guess this is as good of a time to share this totally random factoid. I once actually got asked to play Toxie for a Trauma event down in London. Sadly, I could not make it. Plus, I'm not quite jacked enough to pull off Toxie's classic tutu look, I think. But yeah, just a last point here, which something I've started doing on these Thursdays. If you're looking for a couple of recommendations for your weekend, one I'm going to throw out there, The Girl Who Cried Her Eyes Out, is absolutely worth hunting down. It's got an extremely low budget, but has really strong production values that make it feel way more expensive than it actually is. Some really good performances here, particularly from Mary Brake. As for plot, there's a group of friends go out into the woods for some partying. I should address that because is that something people actually do, especially in America? I've seen it so many times over the years in horror movies. The last place I'd ever want to go and party is in the woods at night. But then again, maybe that's because I've seen so many horror movies where things go incredibly wrong in those settings. Anyway, these friends, they tell spooky stories as you do about a young girl who was bullied hundreds of years ago from some friends who ended up leaving her lost in the woods where she cried her eyes out. And after one of our group had an encounter with the spirit of this girl, yep, all bets are off as we see people getting off one by one. Another quick suggestion as well would be Between the Trees, if nothing else, but for a great sweary old lady who runs a bar in the middle of nowhere. Just, yeah, it popped me to go for a wrestling phrase there. Just, yeah, sweary old ladies, that's where it's at. But that is only a tiny part of the film. Basically, a pit stop as four men head out. Is it four? Yeah, four of them. Was it five of them? Anyway, a group of fellas head out to a cabin in the woods again with the woods. Although at least this time there's a cabin, and these friends find themselves targeted by, let's say, something. That's all I'm going to say. Again, really well performed, really well acted, really smartly shot, and very, very atmospheric. Another one to add to your watch list if you're after something to check out this weekend. And with that, we bring today's video to an end. I've been Andrew Pollard. This has been What Culture Horror. You have a great end to your week. Be sure to let us know in the comments what you've been watching lately or you plan to watch this weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Hopefully, I won't be as bunged up and nasally as I am today, so apologies about that. Hey, I've been a bit ill. But I'll be back on Monday. You have a grand old time.